WhatsApp chat. Let's also inform you, you can listen to us via our website at www.agetradiotv.com. Once you log on the website, check the top right corner. There is a radio icon, and if you click on it, you'll be sure to listen to us live, and also on your Radio Garden app. If you have Radio Garden app on any device at all, you can also listen to Agate Radio there. And let's also remind you, this program is streaming live on all our social media platforms, including Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. If you search Agate Radio and TV out there, you'll be sure to also access the live stream of this program. The visuals are there. Dear listener, who will begin the engagement? Commander Musa, you've been in the drug space. You are the agency responsible for the regulation of illicit drug trafficking here in Benue State. What is the experience about the current issue of drug trafficking in Benue?
Thank you for having me. I want to say that the drug trend in Benue State over time, at least for the past 2 years, has been on the increase, despite all our efforts to curb the menace.
Okay, it has been on the increase. Okay, let's beyond limiting it just to Benue, give us an insight of what is happening in the country as far as illicit drug trafficking is concerned in Nigeria.
The drug problem is still on. I wouldn't say it has gone down, because going by the number of arrests and seizures that has been made over time, you can see that the drug trend is still on. There's still a lot more to be done to curb this menace, even in the area of carrying out public awareness, whereby we have a campaign called WADA. In the whole country at large, the agency has been engaging on this campaign in a very serious way to ensure that the public becomes aware of the consequences that are attached to this drug menace. And in that area, I feel we are making progress, because by and large the awareness is becoming much, because every state is engaging in that campaign involving the stakeholders. So people are becoming more aware of the menace of drug abuse and illicit trafficking through this campaign. Thank you.
Okay, Prof, you are a professor of correctional justice. What is a correct attitude to punish drug offenders before we go into dive into other issues later on?
I think the correct way to deal with drugs is proper investigation, proper prosecution, and timely delivery of judgment, so that everybody knows what the offender is being punished for. I think it was Cesare Beccaria who, as early as 18th century, said that punishment would only be effective if it is swift and decisive, and just enough to punish the offender. What he meant was that once someone commits an offense, he should be speedily brought to justice, and that the judgment or the justice that is given should be such enough to punish the person to deter others. What we have in the system now is many offenders are not speedily brought to justice. Some are never ever brought to justice. And those that are even brought to justice, the delay in the criminal justice system makes it drags on, so that at the end of the day, even when punishment is pronounced for such an offender, the general public is not likely to know what the person is being punished for. In other words, the punishment is also not swift. So what what this proposition is meant is that there's no need to give excessive punishment on anything. Whatever the offense is, and this includes drugs, once you make the punishment quick and fast, it will act as deterrent to others. And which takes us to the theme of today. And so when the Senate proposed
anyway, we'll dive into that as we go along, because it's going to form a crux of our discussion. But let me come back to the commander of narcotics. In terms of justice, how swift does the NDLEA, as the agency responsible for punishing drug offenders, act in dispensing justice, ensuring that people are prosecuted?
On our own part, we have a legal unit that is strictly dedicated for prosecution of drug offenders. And from the point of arrest of a drug offender, depending on the quantity of drugs involved, we ensure that the person is charged to court in less than 48 hours, so that we will not infringe on human rights. He is charged to court within 48 hours. And from there, the process continues. You know, the court is another institution of its own. So our lawyer will go to court and defend the case based on the evidences available. The physical presence of the drugs, the witnesses will give their own testimony, the arresting officer, and we even go further to carry out forensic analysis of the substance that are apprehended, so that to avoid issue of denial, saying that how are you sure that that substance is a drug. So our forensic experts give their opinion, and based on that, all the facts are presented before the judge, and according to the law, the judge will take decision. So as far as I'm concerned, NDLEA is doing her own part to ensure that there is justice, or the offenders are prosecuted timely. But just as I said earlier, the court is not within our jurisdiction. We will not dictate to the court when to sentence a person or not. So at times the case might delay. It will be adjourned based on maybe insufficient evidence or whatever but I want to tell you that NDLEA has prosecuted a lot of drug offenders. If you go to Correctional, most of the inmates there are drug cases, either awaiting trial or serving their jail terms.
Okay, and that is where I'll come back to you now, Prof. Recently at the Benue University, you delivered a public lecture, your inaugural lecture on the dilemma of implementing non-custodial sanctions in Nigeria. She just mentioned custodial center. The issue of custodial centers being congested has been there over time, and she mentioned particularly that if you go to the custodial centers, most of their waiting inmates are maybe related to drugs. Does this add to the issue of congestion of our prisons, and what are the non-custodial measures that can be applied in case of handling drug trafficking cases?
I think before I'll answer your question, let me, without necessarily joining issues with her, say that I agree NDLEA is trying, but there's still a lot to be done from there. I agree they try to prosecute people, but I'm also a lawyer and I go to court, and I've defended quite a number of them, and not all of them come as speedily as presented by her. I think there's room for improvement. And let me also add that most of the prosecutions by NDLEA are the end users. The real fishes are never caught. Only recently, shortly before the election, where the television and everybody were hearing of all those thousands of, in fact, they showed bundles of drugs that were seized by NDLEA. The next few days, I thought I saw them burning it or something, or at least they said it was burned. Nobody has been prosecuted. I think as far as Nigeria is concerned, that's the end of that one. How can we not get to the bottom of this? So what we have in the correctional centers, and that's getting back to your question,
yes,
is you have the end users, and these are mostly for the less destructive drugs, so to say, things like marijuana or what is called coke or whatever it is. So the heroin users, the cocaine users, most of them are not there. So we have people with Indian hemp. These are the majority of people who are in prisons and in the correctional centers, compounding the problem of security. Compounding the problem of space for correctional centers. These are persons who in these situations should be in homes, what is called mental homes. If it's not even a mental home, it should be in a place where the person can be corrected, where the person can be taught lessons, methodologies on how not to take it, and asked to go, and not necessarily end up in prison. So, to me, the end users of marijuana, or what is popularly called Indian hemp, have no business being in court, being in prison, or in the correctional centers in the first place. In many countries, these end users, they no longer even prosecute them. It has been, they just said, okay, let us legalize it, at least focus our interest on those that produce and the big merchants. Because if you cut away that supply chain, then it means the end users will have nothing. And so countries like, I think Venezuela, countries like Belgium, Netherlands, to some extent United States of America, all of these are gradually legalizing the use of Indian hemp. When I say legalize, it's a limited legalization. The end users, if you are caught, maybe of course they send you to a home to be treated. But the other ones, those are the ones they will prosecute. I think this is where we should also be beaming our searchlight on the producers, on the people, the retailers, the big ones. Because if we cut them off, we are likely going to have no marijuana in the market. But what do we have? Every kiosk, and madam, let me say this loud, every kiosk in this Makurdi town, and you go there, they're selling marijuana in one form or the other. I think they call it SKD or something. So our children buy it from there. They buy it freely. And sometimes the other ones that they put in Coke. So if your child is drinking Coke and you say, bring it, let me take, and he declines, note that what he's taking is not Coke, but this thing. So I agree with Ice on the increase. And I also agree with your question that yes, these are the issues compounding the issues of congestion in correctional centers.
Then what are the basic non-custodial measures if they are not to be handled at the custodial centers as you pointed out?
The basic non-custodial methods
with regards to illicit drug trafficking in particular.
In Nigeria, they don't exist because what is prescribed for them is imprisonment. So first and foremost, we have to look at those. Secondly, you need rehabilitational homes. And if you look at the law, if you look at the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, it talks about sending people to rehabilitational homes. But it used the word government approved. Now there is no single government approved rehabilitation center in Nigeria that I know. I stand to be corrected.
You stand to be corrected.
I have not seen any. And yet you put that in the law. Yes, there are some rehabilitational centers built by individuals, by Christians, and so on and so forth. Now, but the law is specific. Send into a government rehabilitation center. So when none exists, then it becomes difficult for you to implement any aspect of non-custodial center, even if it can be done.
Okay, the state commander.
Yes, sir.
Non-custodial measures, rehabilitation. What is the level of NDLEA engaging the drug offenders with regards to rehabilitating them?
Before I answer that question, I want to sound a point of correction.
Please go ahead.
Yeah.
He said he has not, or he's not aware
Yeah.
of any government-approved rehabilitation center. But I want to tell you that NDLA operates rehab centers. Even here in Makurdi, we have a rehab center that is currently running. So, in most of the states in Nigeria, all the state commands, they have rehab centers. It's only that the rehab centers might not be according to the standard, but the professional know-how and the professional personnel that are supposed to run these rehab centers are available in the state commands. Here in Makurdi, here in Benue State, we have one currently running. As I speak now, I have about 15 clients that are undergoing rehabilitation, and the rehabilitation programs have been successful, going by the experience or by the testimony of the parents whose words are involved. So, in terms of custodial centers for rehab centers, NDLA has one or some currently running, but there is room for improvement. And there are NGOs which, in partnership with NDLA, run rehab centers. I believe Ministry of Health too has rehab centers. Apart from psychiatric hospitals, they have rehab centers which drug addicts can be referred to. I earlier said we prosecute the dealers depending on the quantity, because you were saying that the punishment is for end users. It's not the users that we prosecute, it's the dealers, not the end users. Most of the time the users, we counsel and rehabilitate them. We have what we call brief intervention counseling, and we have counseling for on admission, wherein we keep the clients for a minimum of 3 to 6 months and observe them. They undergo treatment, detoxification, counseling, and psychological lessons to teach them skills on how to cope and say no to drug abuse, so that when they leave that place, they will not relapse or go back to that same habit.
Okay, State Commander, between last year, that's 2023, to this year, that I know you've been here beyond last year, but between last year to this year, could you give us a sense of statistics of certain prosecutions you have made at the level of Benue State Command of the NDLEA?
I don't really. I'm sorry, I didn't take the.
Okay, you don't have them handy. But roughly,
yes.
Because you mentioned earlier that it is on the increase. Is there any rough sense of
I
what
know that
you
we
can?
have prosecuted more than 50 between last year and this year.
And this
in the
involves
first quarter.
This involves only the end users?
No,
Okay.
dealers whose quantity of drug is above 100 kg plus. Anything below 100, we regard them as users. Any person that has a 100 kg upwards, you can't tell me that you have 100 kg of drugs and you claim to be a user. You are a dealer, not a user.
Anyway, maybe as we go along, State Commander, you should help us understand who are the users and the big syndicates that operate at the level of multinationals and even national syndicates that are involved in illicit drug trafficking. Do we have that experience here in Benue State?
We don't have big time dealers here. We just have middlemen, that retailers in Benue State here, because the big time dealers are the importers. They import it through our border points, either airport, seaport, or land borders. which our Benue State here, they will go buy these things from the big timers, then bring them and retail it to other smaller users. So what they normally import here is traffic is SK, that's skunk, compressed cannabis, and then the tramadol. Most of the time they buy it from Onitsha, Anambra, and traffic it into the state.
All right. Dear listener, in case you are just tuning in, you've been listening to Perspectives on Agate Radio 95.5 Star FM Makurdi. We are discussing the menace of drug trafficking and punishment for offenders. Our discussants here in the studio, I have the State Commander, National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, Benue State Command, Commander of Narcotics, Esther Musa is our guest. We also have the Professor of Correctional Justice at the Benue State University, Makurdi. He is the Dean of the Postgraduate School at that university. Professor Vearumun Tarhule is also our guest here in the studio. And earlier on, we called out the lines through which you can reach us. I'd like to inform you that the one for text messages and WhatsApp chat is already activated for you to sending your contributions through text or WhatsApp. If you are doing so, kindly remember to include your name and the location you are sending your message from. Or in case you're just joining us, I'd like to remind you the number once again is 0912 999404. The line is 0912 699 9404. That line is available for text message and it's already activated for us to take your contributions. Later at 10 o'clock, we'll remind you of the 1-4 course, which we will start taking at 10. And let's also remind you again that this program is streaming live on all our social media platforms, including Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, as well as X. If you search Agate Radio and TV out on these platforms, you'll be sure to get the live stream of the program there. And on our website, you may listen to us on www.agateradiotv.com, www.agateradiotv.com. If you log on the website, go on the top right corner, click on the radio icon there, and listen to us live. Also on Radio Garden, if you have any device at all and you have your Radio Garden app there, you'll be sure to access the listenership of Agate Radio programs there. Prof, what are the implications of illicit drug trafficking on national security from a legal perspective?
The implications are obvious. Once you take drugs, it's kind of, most of them are stimulants, and then they affect your reasoning faculties. And once they do that, it means that whatever you are going to do, you are no longer doing it willingly. You are no longer doing it because you desire to do it, but you are doing it as the drugs direct you to do. Or at least as the drug encourage you to do, so to say. So when you see most of these crimes taking place, the people that are doing it are being facilitated by drugs. I'll give you an example. About 2 or 3 years ago, I was in Ihu market, and I wanted to board a taxi to Boko, or at least a vehicle to Boko. The driver went and took one of these things in black cans, finished it, got a cigarette somewhere, finished it, went to one other woman who was selling roots in a bottle, finished it, and then he said, now the road is free of potholes. Of course, logically he was being truthful, because by the time he takes all those, whether there is any pothole on the road or not, nobody is going to, he's not going to see it. Yes. And he may likely not see any other vehicle too. And if there is a human being trying to cross the road, he may look like an ant. So when I saw his eyes and I saw what he was taking, I quietly decided that I'll have to wait for another one. So this is the effect these things have on your thinking. And so when you talk about national security, most of the things that we're hearing about Boko Haram, about kidnapping, about, I don't know whether I should add headers, but most of these heinous crimes, these grievous crimes you are hearing about these days, can never be done by people who are ordinary, yes, who don't take something. Because as you are now, if they give you a machete and say cut somebody down, you are likely not going to do it. But when someone takes this, it enhances his thinking that nothing will go wrong. And therefore, it becomes easy for him to carry out all those things, or to kidnap people, or to come and burn any place and go, and so on and so forth. So the impact of that to national security is obvious, because this is what is making us a laughingstock of the world. And if you go deep into it, you must finger drugs. At least 75% of the persons engaged in this must be drug addicts. Well, maybe not addicts, but drug users. So legally, this has very serious security implications on the country.
Okay. State Commander, this is directly in your feet. Walk us through what are the implications of this for national security, the issue of illicit drug trafficking.
Just as my partner has spoken,
your partner on the program, because
my partner, my partner on the program.
His wife may be listening. That's on a lighter note, by the way.
No problem.
My partner on the program has spoken that the implication of drugs on the national security cannot be overemphasized. That any person under the influence of drug can commit any crime, because to him or her is a normal way of life. Under normal circumstance, a right-thinking person will not just decide to commit crime such as kidnapping somebody, killing, committing murder, or arson, rape, or what have you, terrorism, if not under the influence of something. Because once these drugs are taken, it impairs their sense of reasoning, distorts their normal way of thinking, in the sense that they see black as white and white as black. What we call, they begin to hallucinate. They begin to see sound. Can you see sound? You cannot see sound. You can only hear sound. I hope you understand.
Yes.
So it distorts their sense of reasoning, that they see negativity as a normal way of life. So the impact of drug abuse on national security is quite enormous, and it calls for the government to take pragmatic steps for us to curb this menace, so that it will not destroy our country.
Okay, when you say the government, maybe it's your mandate, the mandate of the NDLA. Maybe, is there something,
NDLA,
are you losing the war? Are
is
you losing or winning the war? Because if it is on the increase, as you mentioned, and it's also impacting negatively on national security, is the NDLA losing or winning the war against drug trafficking?
It is not about NDLA alone. That's why I said the government. NDLA is part of government. So NDLA and all others is a problem that affects everybody, from the individual to the community to the society and the nation. In fact, globally, the drug problem is a global problem, such that you don't say it is NDLA's mandate, so NDLA go and tackle it. That is why we are calling on stakeholders to partake and join hands with NDLA to fight this menace through the campaign that was launched by the former president, War Against Drug Abuse. This is a campaign that calls for creating more awareness on the dangers and implications of drug abuse. So it is a clarion call for all stakeholders, community, the government, NGOs, civil society organizations, media, religious bodies, traditional, everybody, schools and school children, parents, everybody must join hands in this war for us to fight it, because if we have a drug-free society, the better for us. The drug problem is ravaging in homes. If you hear the ordeals of some parents or some people, guardians that have wards that are engaged in drug abuse, is quite pathetic. So the drug problem does not affect only the user, it affects the entire family, because they become a nuisance in the home. They threaten their parents, some even kill their parents in the process because of this drug menace. So it's not the NDLA's problem alone. Agreed, NDLA has the mandate to tackle that issue, but we need the support of all and sundry to be able to curb this menace to its barest minimum.
Okay, Prof. Last Thursday, the Senate approved the death sentence for drug offenders in its consideration for the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency Amendment Bill 2024. What are your thoughts on capital punishment for drug offenders?
Thank you very much. I read that information with a lot of worry. A lot of worry because on about 2 or 3 planks. Let's start with the first. Most of the countries now seem to think that capital punishment or death sentence is no longer effective, and therefore they are thinking of other options, chiefly amongst them being life imprisonment. But here we are talking about death sentence. Now, the last time I checked, out of the 194 member United Nations, that is the countries that make up the UN, 112 have abolished completely the death sentence. 55, including Nigeria, has retained it, while the rest are at one stage, or they have suspended it without necessarily abolishing it. So what this portends is that the majority are going one way and we are going the other way. We are not alone in it. In fact, most of the populous nations and the big nations are they have still retained capital punishment. For example, out of the 50 states in the United States, 27 have retained capital punishment, meaning only 3 have abolished it. Then if you go to China, China is the highest ranked nation now that execute people. And then you go to Saudi Arabia, Iran, Egypt, and so on. So these are the returning countries, including Soviet Union. Although in the case of Soviet Union, for the past 10 years or so, they have not executed anybody. They have joined the moratorium. Now, the entirety of European Union has abolished capital punishment, but we are still talking about it. So that is one phase. Looking at where the world is going, we seem to be taking the left, where majority of the countries are taking the right. So that becomes a worry. The second point I want to make is that let's look at past experiences in this country. A time was when we were worried about armed robbery. So we brought out the Armed Robbery and Firearms Prohibition Act, which prescribed the death penalty. How did that law fare? To the best of my knowledge, armed robbery has decreased not as a result of that law, but because of the introduction, the modernization in the banking sector, which now means people no longer carry heavy amount of cash on the way. Even then, there are still instances of armed robbery, as experienced in Otukpo recently. I think it was in November, when they came and attacked 4 banks and killed about 5 or so people. And as I speak, not a single person has been arrested. But that's a story for another day. The real point I'm making is that this the past experience with capital punishment shows that it did not work. In fact, in the case of armed robbers, even when they were doing this shooting at the stake, when they were doing this mass shooting, even at that point, people would pickpocket, telling you that even when they were seeing someone being killed, it still did not detract them from the fact of trying to steal. So experience shows that it did not work. Again, if you look at kidnapping, when kidnapping became a problem, most of the states, including Benue, Anambra, Kano, Nasarawa, rushed into passing laws with death penalties. The question you ask is, how far have they fared? How many people have been prosecuted successfully on this? And how many have been executed? So when you look at this from that prism, again you see that it doesn't make sense we're talking about capital punishment anymore. Mm-hmm. Now, let's go to my third point and worry. As I speak to you, the last executions in Nigeria were in 2016 when Adams Shomole was governor of Benue State. Since then, no person has been executed in Nigeria. The last time I looked at statistics, and that was on the 15th of April this year, 16th of April this year, 3,413 persons in Nigeria are on death row. They have been sentenced to death for God knows how long. None of the governors is being man enough to sign the warrant of execution. And so they have remained there on death row not knowing what their future is. To me, I think that is even worse than death in itself, because you don't know whether they will come tomorrow or they will come the day after, and so on and so forth. Again, nothing is done. Now, when you look at criminals, and this is where I'm trying to wind down, so I've given you 3 reasons why I think it's not done, why I think it's not going to work. Now, when you look at criminals, particularly today's criminals, most of them are well educated and well schooled. They have taken their time to look at all the looked at the death penalty in Nigeria. They know that it is a toothless bulldog. Why? Even if the courts are bored, even if the prosecution leads to their being pronounced or sentenced to death, nothing will happen to it. And then they also look at the weak investigation and prosecution machinery. And they know that, well, this is worth taking a risk, because I am not going to be caught. After all, how many people get really caught in these affairs? So when you add all this together, I think, to me, the Senate, I don't want to use the word playing to the gallery, but I think the Senate went a little off the beat when they came back to prescribe what obviously they know is not going to work. The saving grace is the motion or the bill by the Senate cannot on its own become law without a corresponding bill from the House of Representatives. So now that remains their opinion until we hear from the House of Representatives, which appears to be saying we will hear what Nigerian people think about it.
And that is what we're interrogating here. State Commander, the current NDLA Act in Section 11 of the existing law, which is to be amended, prescribes life imprisonment as against what the Senate is commuting now for death sentence for drug offenders in the categories of dealers of cocaine, heroin, and other hard drugs, and also applies to manufacturing as well as trafficking, those in the trafficking dealership of hard drugs. What are your thoughts from the point of view of NDLEA?
For now, I know that the punishment is life imprisonment, not until the recent pronouncement by the Senate, which I don't want to make comment on that.
Okay, why? Because this involves your agency.
Yes. So,
and if comments are not coming from you,
for now, I don't want to comment. Maybe the higher authorities will comment on that.
Okay, you'll guard it up.
Yes.
It's okay. It's all right. Prof,
yes.
I am back to you still on this same issue. Are you alleging that the capital punishment will certainly not curb the issue of drug trafficking in the country. Is that your position, or because
that's my position? I'm 100% sure that capital punishment will not curb the issue of drug abuse in Nigeria.
So which way?
Which way? That's a difficult question. I think the way to go is to leave the law as it is with life imprisonment, then strengthen investigative powers, both NDLE and of the prosecuting authorities, as well as the judiciary has a big role to play in this. It goes back to my opening statement, the words of Cesare Bakare: punishment should be swift and timed. The word swift and enough to deter. So if first we are doing thorough investigation, then it means that we should be in a position to close the links or to close the route through which drugs are being trafficked in Nigeria. If we do that, we're hitting the nail on the head. Second, even with that, there must be leakages here and there. Human beings being what they are, there must be leakages. And again, given the porous nature of our borders, you cannot 100% say that because you stopped it at the borders, it will go in through another angle. So those that have been caught within the system should be prosecuted, investigated and prosecuted. And the court should act timelessly. So once the court acts in good time and the person is convicted and everybody knows that he is convicted as a result of trafficking or dealing in drugs, then the issue will reduce. The issue will reduce. So if you take countries that still have, for example, I think Iran, Saudi Arabia and China, these are countries that have placed capital punishment on drugs. They still have them. And that is why they keep on killing them. So continuously executing people has not proved that this is going to be the answer. So the only answer we can think about is investigation, prosecution, punishment, and what my colleague here, I'm avoiding the word partner. What my colleague here say, education. And in education, or what I mean by education is sensitization. And in sensitization, it should not just stop with NDLE. She correctly hit the nail on the head when it says the responsibility of all of us, particularly within the family. Every morning, you have to watch your child, your children, to see whether they are doing something a little abnormal from what you used to know from them. I think this is where we have lost it all. 6 a.m., a father is bathing to go to work. 7:30, the mother follows suit, and the children are alone. So when they are alone, probably the father comes back at 4 p.m., the mother comes back maybe earlier or the same time. Everybody is tired. Even if you look at your child, you don't have the time to study and understand him. And so they continue in whatever they are doing. So we need to create special time within which to monitor our children. Because if we dictate it within that time, I'm sure that no father would want to just sit idly by and watch his son become a drug addict. Steps will be taken to ensure that this thing stops. So if we can do it at that level, we can begin to curb it at that level. Perhaps, maybe, the issue will reduce. It will not finish, I know that, but at least it will substantially reduce.
It's okay. State Commander, what do parents need to get to understand about monitoring their wards to curtail cases of drug addiction?
Yes, thank you for that question. The parents have a very big role to play because they are role models to their children. I know when I was young, our parents, they used to monitor us very well. But my colleague here said in our current situation, the parents are too busy hustling for how to make ends meet. both the parents, the mother and the father most times are not at home to check the children when they come back from school. When they are going to school, they leave them to maids. So we cannot leave our primary responsibility of upbringing to maids. So the parents have a very big role to play to ensure that they must monitor their children and wards. No matter how busy you claim to be, find time to monitor the children. Conduct surprise checks in their rooms. Check their bags, their school bags. These days, even primary school students, pupils, are being lured into drug abuse. This drug abuse thing, or drug addiction, doesn't just start in a day. It's a gradual process. It starts by experimentation, when through peer group influence, friends and peer group will lure their friends into it, and before you know it, they are deep or hooked into the problem. So the parents and the wards, the guardians, teachers and everybody will have a role to play in monitoring and ensuring that our children are not engaging in deviant behaviors. Like if you find out that your child is unnecessarily being secretive, at times you want to check something, the child will show some level of resistance, then you should be suspicious. If you want to conduct such checks, don't even give the child a clue. Just conduct a surprise check, and oftentimes you will be surprised what you will discover. So we the parents have to wake up to our responsibilities, and leaders have to wake up to our responsibility to show good example to the youth, which are the most vulnerable group of this menace called drug abuse.
It's okay. It's about time now for us to engage with those listening to us on the program. And if you are just joining us, we'd like to remind you once again that the program Perspectives, we are discussing the menace of drug trafficking and punishment for offenders. Our guests here in the studio, we have the State Commander, National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, Benue State Command, Commander of Narcotics, Esther Musa is our guest, and also a Professor of Correctional Justice at the Benue State University, Makurdi. He is the Dean Postgraduate School at that university, Professor Vearumun, Tarhule. And you too can contribute on the program by calling us on 0814-335-9292. The number for calls is 0814-335-9292. Once you connect with us, tell us your name and where you are calling from. Then you go ahead and make your submission. We appeal that you keep it brief so as to enable others have the opportunity to also reach us. Hello, good morning and welcome to Perspectives.
Hello, good morning.
Morning to you. Welcome to the program.
Yes. My name is Peter Pillar. I'm calling from IBB Square, here in Makurdi, Benue State.
Good to have you join us on Perspectives, Peter Pillar.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Peter.
Yes, you spoke very well. As a good mother, I celebrate you. You see, we are talking about illicit drug trafficking. It's a pity and a very big shame, because before our society will clear away of this mess, start from the family. Once the background of the family is faulty, is indisciplined, the children will come out to be what? Indisciplined. But once the background of the family is rooted in discipline, the children will grow up to be disciplined mind, and there's no way those children will misbehave. Just no way. Today, you look at our society, the youth are victims of this drug abuse. You see them taking it even on street. But we have security agencies. They do move around. Do they arrest some of them? No. And they also, because now we say children of nowadays, no teaching. No. As a, when we come to the issue of the society being up to their responsibility, you see the security go, and this youth will be taking it by.
Hello, Peter.
Hello, sir.
Yes, your line is breaking. Okay, you have established we are listening to you, Peter. You have established.
Okay.
Hello, Peter. Are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
I'm with you.
Okay, I said you have established the issue very clearly, same way we have established on the program. So, what is the way forward? What can be done to correct this issue? Menace of drug trafficking and punishment for offenders.
Exactly.
What can be done? Yes.
The security agents, those who are responsible, they should go ahead and do the needful by arresting those youth who are involved in drugs and people who are involved in drug trafficking. Arrest those men and bring them to book. Let them account for the sins they have committed. Nobody the law. If you are not above the law, let them set the example. No matter how big or highly placed you are in this country, the person should be arrested and then
okay, Peter.
And then in terms of the youth, I always say the parents, discipline your child and frown your face. That is what God said. When you discipline them and you tell them to stay away from drugs, I'm telling you, your children will grow up to see drugs.
All right, Peter, we must thank you. Thank you so much. We appreciate your submission. Thank you for your contribution. The network seemed to be really unfriendly where you are. Part of your contribution was lost as there were intermittent break in the communication. All the same, we appreciate you for calling in, Peter. Hello, good morning and welcome to the program.
Yeah, good morning. Emeka Nyog from North Bank, Makurdi, State.
All right, Mr. Emeka Nyog, good to have you on Perspective.
You see this drug abuse in this country today is something that has become a menace in the country. Until when you deal with it from the foundation, before you will see that things will work out well. You look at many of our children today have been involved. And when we look at it, you will see that how do we solve this issue in this country until when the big people are into this drug abuse who are being arrested. Like what Buba Marwa is doing. I love it so much. In the airports, they arrest many people. Within the country now, they arrest. But there are still pocket ones, like here in Makurdi, and here. I don't know whether Madam still remember the Lafayette garage where they used to sell some drugs. I don't know whether she have gone there herself to arrest people. So I am of the opinion until all hands join together and do something and make sure that this country will eradicate drugs abuse.
Okay,
it will help us.
Emeka Nyogo.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you alleged that Lafayette Garage. Help us understand exactly what is happening there so that if it is something NDLA, they can take it all.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to tell you. You see, now I am talking this issue because I want the world to go down with it. So, if our people in this country today, all of us can team up.
No,
you see, there will be no kidnapping.
Emeka Nyogo.
Take drugs.
Hello, Emeka Nyogo.
Hello?
Hello, are you there?
Yes, I'm there.
Okay, we're asking that you allege that North Bank. What exactly is that? Are you alleging that drugs are being peddled or hawked there, or what? Illicit drug trafficking is going on there? Okay.
Inside the garage.
Okay.
Inside the garage there. They sell drugs, marijuana are being sold there. So I am of the opinion until when these people are being arrested and the other sponsors are being arrested, because these people cannot do something that you are seeing today, at the end of the day, this country will be in good. You see, kidnapping is out of influence of alcohol, drugs. And at the same time, you look at other things that they commit, crimes, is out of drug abuse. So I am of the opinion until when all hands are joined together, the traditional rulers, the church people, and the government join hands together and help the security people to do the work. I think with this, our people will get out of. But I'm not of the support of capital punishment of trying to kill, but only let them go to prison and learn their lesson and think about it. Because many of them can be rehabilitated. And they will be out of that. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you. Thank you for your contribution, Mr. Emeka Nyogu. State Commander, you have that is something I think the NDLA may want to follow. But as we go along, we are going to ask you flashpoints that you may have identified in the state and what you are doing. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good to have you on the program.
Yes, I'm Kwaza Vincent calling from North Bank, Makurdi.
Okay, Association of North Bank Callers. Our last call was from North Bank.
Regards to the guests in the studio.
All right, good to have you. Please go ahead, Kwaza Vincent.
Yes. For drug trafficking to reduce in our society, parents must live up to their responsibility of monitoring their words, because these children are our children. They sleep in the same room with us. They go out and they come back at we. And the type of friends, the peer group they mingle with, parents should make sure they check their children, the type of peer group they mingle with, because it is through this peer group that some of them are really into trafficking of these drugs. So if parents can live up to their responsibility of monitoring their words and the type of friends their children keep, it will go a long way in reducing this issue of drug trafficking. And security agents too should live up to their responsibility, because when you go around the street now, you discover that these young children between the age of 18 and 19 thereabouts, they will be smoking and moving around without security intervention. So they should open their eyes, make sure they monitor this, they know where they stay. Go around these places, all these hide joints. You will discover that they stay there, they smoke, and they leave at any time. So if the security agents can monitor these places and then live up to their responsibility, it will go a long way in reducing this issue of drug trafficking. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Kwaza Vincent, for your contribution. Parents and security agencies should strengthen the fight against drug use. Anyway, hello, good morning.
This is Edambao Khan.
Edambao Khan.
Well, I greet all of you in the studio, the professor, the NDLE boss, and yourself, Nathan, I get radio. It's a very beautiful topic.
Thank you, sir.
And while I've been listening, I've been desperately contemplating what to say. So let me say, in nomine Patrice, please, Santos, may the Holy Spirit help me say what will be relevant. Because the world on the general note, look at the issue of climate change. We are already in a big trap. We are not withdrawing from it, because day in and day out, we are burning fossil fuel and producing the things that are destroying the ozone layer. So in the same area, you come back. The other day I was watching TV, and I saw these traders of alcohol. They were looking like warriors going to war in the National Assembly, and talking about how they are going to lose their jobs and how they will have to go underground if they are not allowed to do it in the open, just because they requested that they should reduce the quantity of alcohol that was being sold in small sachets, which the children can easily buy. It was war. I could see those people I don't want to call them, they were looking at people, the army of Nigeria, that they could destroy this country if anybody touches their business. That is what I was seeing in their eyes. And then you come back to the issue of those. I remember I keep mentioning the one of the novels. I can't remember the author very well. He said, clear and present danger. That is to say, long ago America had discovered that our society was getting destroyed. Why? Drugs. Look at Saudi Arabia. That's why they became very violent. Nigerians were going to pilgrimage. And when they saw that, they said, anybody you bring any nonsense into their country, death sentence. I remember one time Buhari had to intervene for one young lady like that. So today we talk about parents. when you talk about parents, I begin to feel a little bit worried because many parents are themselves no longer parents. You cannot give what you don't have. They themselves are consuming the drugs. In fact, that is what keeps them as parents. They wake up in the morning, they are running to a place where they can have a shot. They are running to a place. So how can you taking it and how can you be telling your child not to do what you are doing? They are watching you. Actions speak louder than words. They discover that is the most important thing. So they will go ahead and do it. So government cannot be pretending. Unfortunately, even in government, we have people who are taking alcohol. The other day I mentioned it here. Somebody told me some of the people who are in top government in Nigeria drink one bottle of alcohol that is worth 2 million naira. Okay. So these children are watching. Okay. And you are telling them not to take it. So is it not only God that will help us?
Okay.
Is it not only God?
Okay.
We just continue to pray. You can hear Madam who is speaking in the studio. She's speaking in low tones because she has a boss at the national level. And if that boss does not say anything, if she oversays it, she probably may be querying. So this is the type of society that we have. So, okay. But I pray it's just prayer that we must live by example.
Okay, so Edabab can
so that's my submission.
Oh, thank you very much for your submission. We appreciate you. Thank you. It's okay. Well, the issue is not really indicting our discussants of not saying it as it is. I think they are stating their minds, whatever it is. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning to you.
Can you hear me? Good morning, sir.
You are on. Speak to us.
Okay. My name is Vincent Ako. I'm calling from Wadata.
All right, Vincent Ako, good to have you join us on the program.
Thank you very much, sir. My regards to the guests in the studio, all of them.
Thank you.
Hello?
Vincent, you are on. Speak to us.
I want to say that drug has eaten deep in our society and it is very, very bad. If we continue allowing it, in fact, it will consume everybody. So I want to say that the dealers should be arrested and then death sentence should be prescribed for them. While the end users should be taken to life imprisonment. That is for me. Then I want to also ask questions, sir.
Yes.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, Vincent, we can hear you.
Yes, I want to ask the commander of Narcotics, Esther Musa, why is it that your officers and men always concentrate on the end users and often shoot them to death whenever they try to escape from being arrested, but always go about collecting bribes from the main dealers and allowing them to continue with their illegal business? Why, man? That's my question. Okay. Thank you very much.
Vincent, before you go, hello, Vincent?
Yes, I can hear you, sir.
This is an allegation. Do you have facts to it? Have you experienced it anywhere? Or you are just alleging?
Very well, sir. I've experienced it often and often, especially in Wadata.
Okay. It's all right.
Yes, sir.
If you claim that you have experienced it, the commander will speak to that. Thank you.
Okay.
I appreciate
I would like to please clarify us, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Vincent. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Meaning there must be some level of drug issue going on in Wadata, as Vincent is alleging. But Commander, you will tell us more as we get to hear from you. Hello, good morning, and welcome to the program.
Good morning, sir, the presenter. My name is Character High Chief Jerry Ohange, JP. I call you from New Layout, Kanshio.
Okay, good to have you join us, Jerry Ohange.
My greetings to the two guests in the house. I greet you, my President General. Well done job, sir.
Thank you.
Yes. You guys have done a good job by establishing the menace of drug trafficking. So I'm not going to talk about that. I want to look at the suggestions and ways how we can deal with it. Drugs has done us a lot of bad, and I think if we want to get out of it, let us enhance our law enforcement in the country. How do I mean by this? It is not just only recruiting. Let us train our law enforcement officers on how to detect, on how to investigate properly. When I say investigation here, very properly, the Prof was saying something about this earlier. So we need people who are very well trained in handling drug cases, who can also prosecute very well, simply because they have also investigated very well. If that is done, it will go a long way in getting convictions very well, and that will also help us. They're talking about international cooperation. It's also very important because you know the issue of drugs cut across national and international borders, and so if you are dealing with it in Nigeria and the other countries are not cooperating with you, it is as good as you are not doing anything. And so we also need cooperation from our international allies, talking about the countries we share borders with and even countries we do not share border, but these drugs emanate from them down to West Africa here. If they do not cooperate with us, we will be having a lot of challenges here. And then we need education. This education here, we need to educate our people properly. When I was in secondary school, we used to have clubs that teach us about drugs and the menace of drugs and how to deal with it. In fact, in my day as a secondary school student, I wrote a news commentary on one of the radio stations in the state here. I wouldn't want to mention the name, but it's important to educate. When we are talking about education here, we can even take this education to the school children in secondary schools. We can catch them young by organizing seminars and classes for them, teach them what this drug is, what is the effect if you take it, how will it affect you as you grow up in the society. I think this is very important. As we're educating, there is also the need for us to try and prevent. That prevention is most often better than we allow the drugs to get in and we begin to go after them.
All right.
We can also target the supply chains. If we target the supply chains, we'll be doing a good job for ourselves. And community engagement is another one. We can't do it without engaging the community to be involved meaningfully. And that is also part of the education here.
All right.
If we educate the community members, they will know what they are supposed to do, when they are supposed to do,
thank you,
and how they are supposed to do.
Thank you for your
submission. Thank you.
Yeah, let's draw it here. Thank you. Your point is made. Thank you. I appreciate your contribution, Jeru Hange. Okay, before we engage with more callers, State Commander, let's address some concerns, beginning with Vincent Akko. You listen to him, his allegation that personnel of the NDLEA shoot those who try to escape from being arrested. He mentioned Wadata. And also, Emeka Nyogo drew your attention to the issue in Lafayette Garage in North Park. Respond to these concerns, State Commander.
Thank you. The issue of Wadata, Lafayette Garage, and other flashpoints that have since proven to be notorious of in drug activities. Over time, we have on a constant basis raided those areas, either alone or joint raids with military and other security agencies. We have made several arrests from those drug joints, and somehow they still regroup because all those areas are very notorious of drug activities. They are ghettos. Those areas we find that they are ghettos or slums. To nip the point in the nib, I mean, we need credible information to know who are the dealers that bring in these drugs for the hoodlums there. Because this year in January, when my people went for raid operation, they were even attacked by these hoodlums. So it's not as if we are folding our hands and doing nothing. He said NDLA will shoot. We have to shoot in defense. If we are going for raid and we are attacked, we will not just fold our hands and allow them to to kill my officers. The arms they are holding is for defense. It's not for killing anybody. But in the situation where you go for raid and the hoodlums are also equipped, you have to join force for force. So he said the NDLA are in the habit. I have not had a situation whereby any report came to my office that anybody was shot dead. They only maybe fire shots to scare them away, to scare the hoodlums, not with the aim of killing anybody. There hasn't been any report of anybody having been shot in recent time. Throughout my tenure, I have not had such case. So he is just alleged. If he has the facts, let him bring them forward for further investigation.
Okay, so beyond North Bank and Wadata, that is in Makurdi, across Benue, 23 local governments, what are the flashpoints you have identified for issues of drug trafficking?
In all the local governments, like I have area commands. Boko is another notorious place for drug activities. We have made several arrests. In Kasinala, we have destroyed farms. Especially the rainy seasons are coming up now. Before you know it, they go into the interior villages and farm these weeds. So we, through credible information, we go there to get some of these farms destroyed. But the challenge we are having is that we don't have adequate logistics to cover all these areas. That is our major problem. We don't have adequate logistics. If you don't have the vehicle and the wherewithal to do the job, how do you do it? The whole of Benue State here now, how many operations? I don't want to start talking it in public, but we need adequate logistics to be able to cope with the demand of the time.
Part of this, the efforts of this program is to always get those problems to the authorities so they are sufficiently addressed. And if you say you do not want to talk about it in the public, does that mean you are shielding your problems so that you continue to face the same challenges,
okay.
State Commander?
I don't have enough logistics to tackle the problem. If you say, for me to conduct raid, I need operational vehicle. The whole of Benue here, we have only 2 or 3 operational vehicles. When Kasinala wants to go for a raid, you apply to Makurdi, and the vehicles are either epileptic today, they are working tomorrow, they are down. So the major challenge we are having is lack of enough operational vehicles with which to do the job.
Has this been drawn to the attention of your national headquarters? Because as a federal agency, one would expect that such basic, logistics that will facilitate your work.
Our national headquarters is doing their best, but the state too has to support, since the problem is inherent within the state government need to support by giving us adequate, supporting us with a logistic to curb the drug problem.
It's okay, we'll go along. Let's engage with a few more persons, then we'll come back to you shortly, Prof. Hello, good morning and welcome to Perspectives.
Morning, sir.
Good to have you on the program.
Yes, I salute your guest. My name is Jude Pele. I'm calling from Makurdi.
Jude Pele, please go ahead.
Thank you, sir. You see, when we are discussing about this particular issue, the drug menace, I begin to wonder. I know cannabis is being cultivated here in Benue State and some parts of Nigeria. Now, when you talk about cocaine and heroin and some other tough drugs, they are being imported into this country, and that calls for the security architecture of this country. When you go to our sea borders or airport or whatever where these containers are being brought in. The ND, National Drug Law Enforcement Agency are there. The customs are there. The police are there. The military are there. How come these containers get you to this country? So that is the number one problem we are having in this country until we address those issues. Because a container can just make its own way into this country without the security checks of customs, immigration, or whatever that are saddled with the responsibility of handling these challenges. So we need to wake up to this call. And I want to advise the Senate that no country is executing prisoners or criminals this time around. So there should be, let's say, life imprisonment. You go there, you stay there for years, and you don't come out until you are being rehabilitated to be a better person. Thank you.
All right, Judo Perry, thank you for your contribution. We appreciate you. All right, Prof, let's go. I will come back to you because I'm so sorry. I will come back to you shortly, Prof. Hello, good morning, and welcome to the program.
Yes, this is Ibudu Tenenge calling from welfare quarters at the moment.
Okay, Ibudu Tenenge, thank you for calling in. Go ahead.
Yeah, the effect of drug abuse, the truth of the matter is, it is very, very disturbing. And I'm speaking from the professional point of view. Do we know that most of our consumers are the professionals?
From a professional point of view,
the security men.
Hello, Tenenge.
Yes.
From the professional point of view of a drug user, or okay, help us understand your professional point of view.
Sorry, I'm a medical personnel.
Oh, great. So sorry, I didn't mean to slight you. Just my funny.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Tenenge. Yes.
Yeah, if you look at most of the users, they are the professionals, like the some lawyers do take, some doctors do involve themselves, and what have you. And again,
lawyers are indicted. All right.
Yes, and again, most of our security operatives, the police, the air force, the military, the soldiers, they are the ones taking it the more. And sometimes when you go for a raid, you cannot certainly arrest the military because most of them, they are taking it. And people have been citing the cases or an allegation where most of these traders, you see the police will come, settle them, the dealers will settle them, they will go. So we should try to find a way that there should be a collective force where the police, the soldiers, they should be checkmated. Are we there?
Yes, we are with you, Tenenge.
Yeah, so we should try to control from that security aspect. And again, most of our rich men, most of the lawmakers, either them or their children, they are involved in one way or the other. So how can we control it when Senator A or Senator B or Senator A child or Senator B child is involved? So we should try to look for a holistic approach where we can control this menace. That is my submission.
All right. Thank you very much, Tenenge Igbedo, for your submission. You spoke from a professional point of view, so I couldn't argue with you because as a doctor, you may have encountered
I have rehabilitated many people. In fact, there are many Air Force personnel that they are currently under our program of rehabilitation. There are plenty soldiers from 72 battalion.
Okay. Anyway, Tenenge, there may be no point mentioning specific places because the intention is not to spotlight any place as being more prone for that. Thank you all the same for sharing your thoughts with us from a professional point of view.
You're welcome.
Thank you. We appreciate you. Yeah. Anyway, if we were to give time for people to defend themselves, lawyers too will start defending because lawyers were indicted here. Hello, good morning and welcome to Perspectives.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, thank you for joining us.
My name is Sigba Yimakura, Vice-President from Wakubatia, Bogo local government. My regards are guests in the studio.
Thank you, Igba Yuma. Please go ahead.
To me, you know, as the officers have spoken in the studio there, they have spoken well. Look at the issue of our moment there. Having inadequate materials to do their job optimally. It's another problem. You know, when growing up, the issue of marijuana is the one that I want to talk about. When we are growing up, there are some times that uniform men used to move around, searching for those people that are involved themselves in that sinful act, looking for them and catching them. And as they was doing like that, the issue was reducing radically. But as of now, I think there's nothing as such, particularly in rural areas. So I'm calling on the rural authority to equip the security agencies so that they will do their job optimally. And apart from that, the issue is becoming rampant. So let us go around. Hello?
Yes, you're on it, Baima. Try to conclude now.
Another way around to me, is there any way to legalize the issue of marijuana so that those bombs that are springing up in the state here, that people will found people that are looking after those people so that each and everything that is going there, they will be in charge, controlling their members, so that if there is any action, that such a person will be held responsible, and he should be in position to know.
Okay, Igbeima, don't you think you have a second caller on the line already? With you there. Hello, Igbeima. Hello. Okay, Igbeima is off. It's okay. Your baby, I meant, was a second caller making noise from the background. Hello, good morning.
Hello, Matt.
Yes, Matt.
Good morning.
Good morning,
Nat. How are you?
I am fine, thank you. Oh, good morning, sir. Thank you for
my name is Dr. Joe Hassan.
I know.
I wish I was on that program. Unfortunately, I was not aware.
Oh,
I think we're having a misconception here. We have to broaden the scope of the definition.
Dr. Joe Hassan, where are you reaching us from?
I'm driving through Unagric. I'm in Makurdi right now.
Okay, go ahead.
Driving through. Any substance that affects our minds and bodies is a drug. Yes. Any substance at all that affects our minds and bodies is a drug. I'm speaking from the perspective of a health psychologist. I've analyzed and written articles on substance abuse. In fact, the word now should be substance abuse and not drug abuse, because the most widely abused substance, or drug in quotes, today in Nigeria or globally is alcohol. Alcohol, beer, spirits, wine, etc., etc. In fact, the havoc that some people get involved in or commit when they are under the influence of alcohol is even worse than when some of these kids are under the influence of cannabis, ecstasy, etc., etc. So let's broaden the scope, because we have substances that can also change our minds and bodies or affect our minds and bodies, like cola nut, caffeine. There are even some chocolates that that are being sold with drugs injected in them. So let's broaden the scope. If I was there, I would have spent more time on looking at the causes of substance abuse. If we look at the causes in detail, then we'll be in the position to craft strategies for controlling them. Last year, it was on national television that a warehouse in Lagos was raided by NDLE, and drugs worth almost $1 trillion were covered and sealed. We have not heard anything from NDLE or certain bodies as regards that action. Look, drug business is a huge business that no poor man can get involved in. Just go and watch one movie, Scarface. Now look for that movie, Scarface. No poor man gets involved in the importation and distribution of drugs. In this regard, I will suggest that NDLE and other relevant agencies should beam their searchlights on quotes, some of our big men. Our kids can take India hemp, ecstasy, tramadol, here and there. But poor kids cannot afford cocaine. Who are those that have the resources of importing cocaine into Nigeria? There is cocaine everywhere in Abuja. There is cocaine everywhere in Kano. There is cocaine everywhere in Port Harcourt, Lagos. We don't have enough cocaine here because most of us in coast cannot afford cocaine. So please, let's widen our dragnet. Look, if we don't take time, in the next 20 or 25 years, this country is going to be engulfed by the menace of substance abuse. I have written articles on the role of faith-based organizations in the control of substance abuse. Faith-based organizations. I was in Benue a couple of years ago. There was a high prevalence of drug addiction among soldiers that were sent to the northeast. You can quote me. High prevalence and instead of soldiers consuming illicit drugs before going to confront terrorists. So how can we stop that? I have also taken part in trying to rehab, to detoxify. Detoxification is what I expect NDLE to be actively involved in. I don't know if they have the required personnel to detoxify some of these people. Detoxification is the first step to rehabilitation.
Okay.
Detoxification is the first step to rehabilitation. If you do not withdraw these drugs under medical supervision, there will be crisis.
Okay. Anyway, I think you should conclude now, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Please, I'm appealing to relevant authorities. Get their dragnet. Those drugs that are high there, poor men cannot import them.
All right.
Let us be realistic. If we are not realistic, this menace will consume all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. When you have the time, of course, we'll be willing to bring you in the studio to discuss more from other
by the way, say hello to Prof, my junior St. Gabriel. Say hello to Prof.
He is listening to you.
Thank you, Senior.
Thank you. All right, that's Dr. Joe Hassan. He is a health psychologist. He had been on this program on other issues in the past and is passionate about this area too. We would love to have him really come share his thoughts with us on other areas that he's opening up. But for now, Prof, I am back to you. The issue of syndicates operating, and it is alleged that sometimes NDLA officials connive or cheat them. What should be the position of the law in taking up syndicates that are operating as drug traffickers?
Well, thank you for the question. The position of the law would be simple. Let's see how we can break up these syndicates and bring them to justice. And that is where the problem lies. Again, we're going back to investigation. We're going back to how do you break them up? How do you get to the right personnel? And so on and so forth. And that is, again, where I also sympathize with NDLE. I'm not oblivious of their problems, particularly their logistics problems. To those of us who are keen watchers of, maybe let's say, Channel 181 on DSTV, National Geographic. And when you see the way security operatives are trying to break down robbers, they have everything. They have facilities. They have testing gadgets. They have whatever that once they catch you, they are able to establish that this is this. And then they have also people they put outside to go and monitor people and see based on their reaction, based on their behaviors, whether it looks like they are being carrying drugs. And then they're able to bring in the people that they catch and then interrogate them and then get to the real culprits. That is where we are here. But you heard yourself, 3 vehicles in a state, the size of Benue State with a population of over 4 million, with 23 local governments. It's difficult for you to operate. you know. So the syndicates will continue until we pay more attention to crime, and by inclusion, drugs. I have also, just like Hassan will tell you, written copiously on these issues, that the task of keeping a country crime-free is not easy. It's a very huge enterprise that requires a lot of injection of funds and taking difficult decisions. So we have also to take very difficult decisions. I don't see our government doing that for now. Now, one of the contributors, I think the last one, also said we have not spoken of all the causes of taking drugs. It's true. One of them is poverty. When people don't know what to do, they take it to run away from it, and then it becomes a habit. When people don't find food, they are looking for school fees they can't get. So someone says, if you take this one, it will calm you down. After some time, it becomes a problem. So we also have to go all the way, look at our social society, the social functioning of society, see what we can improve, then enhance the security apparatuses, not just NDLE, including the police. The police too should be trained. And then the airport and borders, this is where the biggest of the search engine should be, because cocaine, heroin, and all the expensive ones come through this route. And at the same time, let us look inward to try to do this. In fact, when one of the callers there made mention of legalizing Indian hemp, honestly, I'm 100% with him. Let us legalize it so that we can stop wasting money on the end users. They can even lead us to where the real syndicates are. So if we legalize it at this point, for the end users at least, it means that we'll be able to sit down and talk to them and then bring them back to the fold. We can interrogate with them and tell them the dangers of this, while at the same time try to find out from which source they are getting this. Having said that, particularly with India, it is now found everywhere in Benue State. And there are bunks everywhere in Benue State. There was a time I went somewhere, I said I shouldn't call them, so I won't call again. I wanted some people to do a farm for me. Then they said I should go to the group of Indian smokers. I said, well, it looks like I may not farm this year, because if it is to those people that I'm to invite, it's impossible. Then somebody told me, well, it looks like I will have no farm, because every child down takes it, you know. So, no, the truth of the matter is, in fact, during campaigns, if you like, follow any politician, they'll tell you, Indian group is here, you have to see us too. And they will be there boldly. And I can show you, within my local government and my exec, I can tell you where they all stay, all the rent of the day. But how many staff does NDLE have? How many vehicles? If they go with one vehicle, they can't even park all of them in one place. So the problem will persist. So, to me, let us legalize it at that level. When we legalize it at that level, those people, we can now use them as investigative machines, and then we can get to the syndicate. And when we get to the syndicate, it's not just India hemp, but I'm limiting my legalization to India hemp. For all the other hard drugs, let them remain where they are. We can't legalize heroin, we can't legalize cocaine because of the dangers that this entails.
All right. State Commander, I'll come back to you shortly after a few engagements, then we'll come back. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. My name is Mr. Jairus Otumala.
All right, good to have you join us, Jairus.
Yes, my greeting to everyone in the studio.
Yes, I'm responding on the behalf of everybody here.
When I mention India hemp and cocaine and the other one, what of Sockaway? How are you going to do about Sockaway? Somebody wake up in the morning, you go and sniff Sockaway. So how can you ban Sockaway? Okay, what of petrol? The petrol that you are using for almost everything Can we ban petrol? Somebody went and sniffed petrol.
Gas.
What of lizard feces? They gather all these ones and roll them and smoke. It intoxicate them. There are one small tree like that. I don't know his name in English. Zegeni. We call it in my tribe Zegeni. Just take a seed, as tiny as anything. Just take one. You almost run mad. So there are so many of those substances that they use in turning themselves into mad people overnight. So how can we deal with all this? Then coming to somebody mentioned that some medical doctor involved in taking it, lawyers and so on and so forth. Yes, I totally agree with him. What did I say so? Some years back, all of you can remember, a pastor who was going, an international pastor who go one of the African countries to go and preach, organize conference, crusade. They arrested him at the airport, Lagos, with how many bottles of these substances. Doing what with them? He trading them all. He took them to energize him so that he can preach and pray well. Or what does that mean? He was arrested. We didn't hear anything from people who arrested him until today, whether he persecuted or not. So you see, we have to go back to our leaders, our guys, military men who are talking about the day. They are the most people who smoke. Even some of those boys, even learn from them. I am saying without fear or favor for anybody. Let us open up to ourselves today. Let us everybody hear what is going on. Even all these our politicians, who are top politicians, for them to speak and open their eyes that all of them they took that shit. They took it. Like maybe if I go to secondary Obrukutu, now I will be arrested. Obrukutu, I will be arrested.
Okay.
Some those of us, all those substances.
Okay.
They are set.
Okay, Jairo Sotomola. So way forward now. Punishment of
the way forward.
Yes.
The way forward.
Yes.
We really need to educate ourselves. Our leaders know what to do. If no matter the level you are, let that person be punished. When I mean punished, I mean punished. Let him in for it. If this man, big man like this, can enter that cell, what of me? Why I don't get anybody? My own, my that one alone, I have signed a signal to me not to use the drugs again.
Okay.
I will stop.
All right.
So please, let us educate ourselves. Let us learn from our leaders who are even making the law say, don't do it, and you went behind and do it. When I discover I'm doing it, wow, they opened door for me.
All right. Thank you.
So I'm coming to our national drug law, where you have tried your best. Logistics, 276 council ward, 23 local government, elected vehicle is uncalled for. Please, if there's anything the state government can assist, they should assist. Right. And we, those of us who call ourselves free, those of us who are talking on the radio, if you are sure of yourself, if we say anywhere such things are, go and report. Don't be for you to come and see them in the radio and talk. Why if you go behind you are taking those things?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Jairo Sotomola. All right, that's the last call we will take because we will have to try to conclude now because our time is fast going. But a few more messages, just a few messages, and I'll come back and conclude. Good morning, I get radio and a guest in the studio. My question is, what are the different punishments that are assigned on the user, producer, and transporter of illicit drugs, especially the jail term? I'm Kwaza Vincent from North Bank. Makurdi, okay, Kwaza, you called in earlier. Thank you for your question. We'll respond to it shortly. This one says, drug trafficking is an illegal way of bringing and selling those substances by the peddlers to the consumers, thereby changing their normal behavior to become public nuisance that endangers the society. However, there is need for parents to be vigilant for their children. Isaac Utsoa from Iyengom. Okay, Isaac, thank you very much for your message. Okay, State Commander, let's come back to you now. How do you react to the allegations that officials of the NDLA shield syndicates and drug barons?
Shield them how?
Shield them from their illicit activities. It is an allegation, even after some callers alleged it.
An allegation that is subject to investigation to be proven. As far as I'm concerned, if we are shielding them, then why are we arresting? Why are we arresting them?
Big men, big multinationals, big syndicates. Sometimes we hear of certain seizures made, but those behind the seizures, one never gets to hear about what has happened to be there.
The cases have been charged to court, and some of the cases are still on. So they cannot just come and conclude that we are shielding them. I'm not aware of NDLA shielding anybody. To the best of my knowledge, we are carrying out our mandate as specified by the law.
Okay, Kwaza Vincent here is asking us, what are the different punishments assigned on the user, producer, and transporter of illicit drugs? Speak about this briefly. The user, the producer, and those who transport, are there specific punishments that the NDLA metes out on them?
The law prescribes a punishment of no less than 6 months to life imprisonment, depending on the gravity, the quantity, and the type of drug. As one of the earlier speakers was mentioning alcohol. Alcohol is a drug, agreed, but we have classification of drugs into socially acceptable and the hard or illicit drugs that are prohibited. Alcohol is not prohibited. It's a socially acceptable drug. You cannot prosecute somebody because he's selling alcohol or he's taking alcohol. All you need to do in that case is to counsel and sensitize them on the excessive use of alcohol, and sensitize and enlighten them on the consequences, the health consequences, the social consequences, and the rest of them.
And we'll conclude with your parting words by giving us, I didn't want us to, from the basic of the beginning, we didn't start so elementary because our focus was majorly on the Senate recent pronouncement. So we didn't dive into the dangers, mental health implications and all that. But just comment about that briefly in 1 minute so as you give your people your parting words.
So my parting words is that we should engage more on preventive measures, because prevention is far cheaper than cure. If you enlighten the public and they know the dangers inherent in some of these drugs, they will not even start it in the first place. So my advice is that we should not even experiment on drugs, not to talk of using or becoming a dealer or a trafficker, knowing the consequences that are involved. It has health implications, social implications, and security implications. In the long run, one can be jailed, and you waste the whole of your lifetime in jail. So the best advice is don't experiment on drugs, be it alcohol or whatever.
All right, Prof, your parting words to the NDLA and also the legal authorities, what should be done to toughen the fight against illicit drug trafficking?
Well, to NDLA, they must learn to bring the big fishes to book. So far, the fight has been narrowed, well, maybe not narrowed, but we have not seen big convictions. Once we see this, then the people will know that the game has changed, and they'll begin to play according to rules. To the general public,
and the legal authorities too.
And to the legal authorities, let me begin with the National Assembly. No need bringing in capital punishment for drug offenses. Legal authorities, I still maintain, legalize the use of marijuana for small takers. Let us save funds to fight the real big dealers so that we can bring it to the market. So that we can bring it to an end. Countries that have legalized it have found a way to cancel better the end users so that the situation is a little under control.
This is where we must have to conclude on today's edition of Perspectives, which we discussed the menace of drug trafficking and punishment for offenders. I have been speaking with the discussants who joined us, the State Commander, National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, Benue State Command, Commander of Narcotics, Esther Musa. Thank you very much, State Commander, for coming on this program. We appreciate your insights. Also, a professor of correctional justice at the Benue State University and Dean Postgraduate School at that university, Professor Vearumun, Tarhule. Thank you very much, Prof.
Thank you very
time
much.
with us. Dear listener, that's our program for today. Join us on Wednesday for another edition. Remember, drug trafficking and drug abuse is a big issue in our society that must be sufficiently addressed by the collaborative efforts of all of us in the society so as to rid our society of the problem. Join us again on Wednesday. My name is Nathaniel Nongu. Goodbye, and thank you very much for being a part of today's edition. I'll see you on Wednesday. Bye-bye.